Hello everyone, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think, Be, Do Leadership. Wasn't sure if I was live then, just looking about. So today we are talking about Confessions of a Leader. I thought we'd do a Confessions of a Leader series for all the things that we kind of maybe don't do so well as leaders and we might not want to talk about, but we probably need to sort out. So today we are talking about disastrous delegation. And I don't know about you, but it's probably one of the hardest things. I think I see a lot of my clients struggle with this and struggle with trusting other people to allow them to do the things that we want to do and that we don't want to do ourselves, but we end up doing everything ourselves. We don't delegate, or if we do, it doesn't really turn out the way we want it to be. And so we hear ourselves saying the words, and I hear it all the time, well, crazy busy, as if it's some kind of like badge to wear. Oh, it's crazy busy today. But actually, does it really need to be crazy busy? And could we be better as a leader of delegating and encouraging people to produce really good results so that we can trust and feel comfortable in doing that, and therefore getting the results in the business without killing ourselves and without having to be crazy busy? Now, wouldn't that be nice? That's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're watching live, please say hello and stick your comments in the messages. That would be brilliant. And if you're watching on replay, if you just put hashtag replay, and I shall look out for your comments. So if you've ever been in a situation where you've had too much to do, then this is for you, because I want us to think about, as leaders, how do we set ourselves up to fail? How do we set ourselves up to be crazy busy, to be too busy, and not to have the use of our team in the way that perhaps we should, or even not if they're in our team, but maybe the use of people around us, whether they be in their team or not. So I want to look at, what that costs us, and also, how we can actually be able to thrive using the skills and geniuses and wonderful things that other people can do as well. Okay, so how do we get ourselves in that state? I have a little list here. This is my little list. And so I want to go through these things because I think this is some of the stuff that I think stops us from really doing a good job at delegating. But before we do that, let's just think about what is the cost of not delegating. So you're too busy. Okay, you've got too much to do. You're not going to get everything done, which puts you in a frustrated state, in an exhausted state. It makes you need a holiday more often, which is not a bad thing. But it means that you're not going to be performing at its top, because you're supposed to be thinking about how to develop things, how to strategize, how to grow the business, or whatever it might be that you're thinking about. And actually, you're too busy counting paper clips or whatever it's going to be, things that you shouldn't be doing and that you wish you didn't have to. But it's all there and you've got to. So the consequence of that is that you don't grow or develop the very thing that you're supposed to be developing and that you want to develop. And therefore you move slower and you don't get what you want. So there's benefit in us being able to utilize resources that we have around us to get things done quicker, to get things done better, hopefully, than we can do while we're trying to juggle a whole load of balls. So if you've ever tried to juggle too much, please say, if you're watching now, say hello, and it's okay. You can confess, you can admit that this may be happening to you as well. So let's have a look at what it costs other people around you. So maybe people in your team or people who are working with you. What does it cost them for you not to be very good at delegating? Well, I'll tell you something. I absolutely hate it when people don't trust me to do a job. I don't know about you, but if I don't feel trusted to do something and there's somebody like hanging over my shoulder, checking on my work or asking me loads of questions about it as if like I don't know what I'm doing, there comes a point for me where I will actively step back and go, do you know what? You do it. Okay. Now think about that for a minute. How many people around you could have said that about you? Because it's probably true, I probably do as well. But if we don't trust other people to do the work, and we are interfering, we're micromanaging, and we're getting in the way, then people are going to actively go, no, thank you very much, because you make them feel uncomfortable, you make them feel untrusted, you make them feel bad, and therefore they choose not to be in that situation. So sometimes we can set ourselves up to fail. Okay, so why are we doing it then? Why aren't we just merrily and happily delegating the jobs that can be done by other people? They've got the skill. Why don't we do that? So I was thinking about this today, and there's some kind of like nice reasons, and there's some not so nice reasons, but all of them end up in the same problem, which is that we shouldn't be doing it, and we are still. So my first one on my list is this one that one of my lovely clients was talking about the other day, and that is the guilt. Now, not everybody has this guilt. It's normally certain personality or behavioural types that have a lot of guilt around giving something to somebody else. Because, I don't know about you, and you can please comment if you feel free to comment. If you're brought up to work hard and try and to be responsible and all those things, and you're a nice person, then the last thing you're going to think of doing is giving something to somebody else to do, because you start to feel guilty about not doing it yourself. Maybe you feel like, oh God, I should be able to do that. I should be able to fit that in, or I don't want to give it to them. They're going to think I'm lazy, or I'm just like putting on them. Yeah. My cleaner's here at the moment. In fact, she may well start hoovering if we're not careful. But sometimes I say to Elaine, my lovely, lovely lady, I say to her, God, with you doing that, it makes me feel guilty, because I see her doing things that I feel that I should be doing myself. And then Elaine tells me not to be so stupid, because I should be in here doing the things that I'm best at, and she do the things that she is best at, because that's her business. And so this guilt thing is kind of like born out of our beliefs and things we've been told as we've been growing up, and our experiences. But actually, it's really what's the word? An unfounded belief in that actually that's not what we're here for. As leaders, we're here to do a job of enabling other people, and therefore we shouldn't feel guilty for doing it, because actually we are enabling other people to help us in our mission of together we can achieve something bigger. And if we were to do that all the time, then we're falsely believing that it's our job to do everything, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it does, then please let me know. I can see a couple of you looking. So that first one, guilt. So I want us to be able to say, I'm not going to feel guilty, because actually this is my role. This is what I'm meant to do, and that's what they're meant to do. Oh, Katie, thank you very much for having a little question there. Hold on, let's read Katie's question. How do you handle the situation if your team has mixed abilities and experience, and you want to encourage your boss to delegate more, but there's a history of it backfiring and causing more work? Yeah, let's get onto that, Katie. We'll come back to that question, because there's a bit here that I've got here that says frustration and disappointment is one of my ones. And I think that's the backfiring and causing more work part. So we'll come on to have a little look at that in a second. Okay, let's do this one now then. Control, or should I say trust? So I don't know about you, but I have a big need for control. So I have to manage this myself as a leader in my business, because many of us feel this need to know what's going to be happening, to make sure that we're going to get the results. And that often is born out of the fact that, well, one, we want it to be right, but two, we sometimes fear that failure, or fear it not being exactly as we want it to be. So we try to control it, we try to hang on to it. But just by looking at what I'm doing with my hands, if I'm controlling something, I'm holding on to it, I'm not allowing it to grow. And so it's like a trade-off that we have of like, well, we can control stuff by doing it ourselves and not trusting other people to have a go, but then it's never going to grow. So we have to let go of a little bit of control and trust other people to be able to do something. I know, Katie, you're probably thinking, well, we don't, because it all goes horribly wrong, but stay with me. Stay with me on that one. So we've got to trust people to be able to do it. Now, take me back to that thing when somebody's watching over my shoulder, as I was mentioning before. That's what I'm talking about. If somebody's got such a high need for control that I don't feel trusted, I don't feel comfortable, and I feel watched all the time, then what am I going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to just go, well, I'm not going to do it then, because I don't feel comfortable. I feel criticized, or I feel watched, and therefore actually it makes you perform worse. So somebody's need for controlling a situation and having it exactly as they want it, and not allowing people, trusting people to try out stuff, means that we are never going to grow, which means you're always going to be doing the work. So we need to think about, how can I create a situation where I don't need to control it so closely? So I've got control of the overall situation, but I can trust that that is still going to come out in the same way that I would like it to be, as opposed to what you just said, Katie, backfiring and causing more work. Okay, so and I will come back to it, don't worry. So you may be saying now, well, how do you do that then, this control? So let's come back in a minute. But I want to get through these. The next one is an interesting one because this is almost the opposite of the first one of guilt, and that's ego. And that is where that we believe as the person who's been in the business for a long time that only we could do it the way we think it should be done. Only we're good enough to do it that way. And it's a little bit rude, isn't it, really? Because, we may have started the business, but that doesn't mean that other people couldn't be as good, whether it be making coffees or whether it be delivering training. We're a little bit bold as to say that we might be the only person who could do that as well as ourselves. We might have had the idea, we may have invented something, but it doesn't mean that nobody else could. So our ego gets the better of us because we think, that's my thing. And therefore we stop ourselves from allowing other people to get as good as us because we don't really want them to, or we don't want to be shown up. But you're not going to get shown up. What you're going to get is a bigger, better business. My window cleaner's now cleaning my windows, and you could see a pair of legs go up in front of me, which is interesting. Anyway, I won't let it put me off. And then here's the next one. Frustration. I'll come back to you now, Katie. Frustration and disappointment. And kind of like, it's that I told you so. See, I knew that would happen if I delegated. Yeah. So getting disappointed by the results. And the thing about that is that, well, we have to ask ourselves the question, why did we not get the results that we wanted? Because, what was it? I'm going to put Katie's comment on here. Hold on. Here you go. How do you handle the situation if your team has mixed abilities or experience and you want to encourage your boss to delegate more, but there's a history of it backfiring and causing more work? So what we have to look at is, if we're getting frustrated and we're getting bad results, we have to understand why. It's not that they couldn't do it necessarily, or is it? Or and that's the question, the three questions that we need to ask is it that they can't do it? Is it that they won't do it because they don't believe in it? Or is it that they don't do it because they don't believe in us as a person, or as the leader as a person? So this history of backfiring, we'd have to ask ourselves the question, can't do, won't do, or don't do. I.e., if they can't do it, what should I have put in place to help them to know what to do? Yeah. And this is where that trust comes in, because if you don't do this, and this is what I call setting them up to succeed, if you don't set them up to succeed, you are going to be disappointed. It is going to backfire and it is going to cause you more work. So you have to do a bit of work up front here and ask yourself the question, right, if I want to delegate to Bob, can Bob do it? Does Bob want to do this thing? Does he believe in this thing, the bigger picture, or does he believe in what he's doing? And does he want to do it for or with me? So there's two different things there. It's like, does he want to do it for the cause, and does he want to do it for me, or does he hate me? Hopefully Bob doesn't hate me. So there are three things we have to ask ourselves the question. Otherwise, it will backfire and we cannot trust, and we probably feel more guilt and we can't control it. Okay, so we have to, in order to not have this disappointment, frustration, and all those things, is we have to set them up to succeed. And the only way to do that is to take each case and do a little bit of work beforehand. We can't just abdicate. That's not the same as delegate. Okay, so what happens here, and Katie, I think maybe we need to look at your boss here, is saying you've got these mixed abilities and experience, and it's like, well, I can't just do a one size fits all, abdicate this, I don't want to do this, you guys are going to do it. I have to, as a leader, say, okay, I want to delegate, but now I have to ask my three questions. Can they? Will they? and will they want to? And so imagine you said that somebody's not got as much experience or ability. Well, then I need to spend a little bit more time up front showing them the how. Whereas somebody might have a lot of ability, but they may not agree with the cause. Like, for example, they may think, oh, I think that's a stupid idea. And therefore, they won't want it to happen. Yeah. So they don't do it, not because they can't, but because they choose not to, because they don't believe in the idea. And then there's the last one. I don't know, let's have Felicity, because we always do. Felicity is sitting there thinking, well, I could do that. I know how to do that. And it's a good cause, but I don't like Katie, so I'm not going to do it, because I'm not going to do it for her, because she annoys me and she never made me a cup of tea, or whatever the ridiculous reason might be. And so we have to ask those questions if we want to set people up to succeed, because we have to deal with each one of those three things differently, so that we get over that, so that we can trust, we can let go of control, we won't feel guilty, and we are pleased with the result at the end. And the result is a bit like, what we would have given. Yeah. And it may be that it's not like that in the first instance, because people have to test, they have to try, and we have to, put that into the package that we do. I'm going to sneeze any second now. So we have, hang on. Oh, excuse me. So we have to do a little bit of test and measure and a little bit of support before we let people go. And we need to check that ability and that experience and that understanding. Gone out of focus, weirdly. And so it's very, very important that we do not set them up to fail. I'm still out of focus. Hang on. There. Okay. So don't set them up to fail, Katie, or your boss. Tell your boss not to do that. And to understand the abilities, to understand the experience of our team, and then understand our response to this. Am I making it so that they don't want to? So this control that I might be feeling, this ego that I might be having, this lack of trust, is that making them not want to be part of what I'm trying to do? Is that making them not want to step up and try? And therefore, it's my own vicious circle. So we talked about guilt, we talked about control and trust, we talked about frustration and disappointment by setting them up to fail or not making sure we set them up to succeed. We talked about our ego, and I'm sure there's many more things. But I think that's enough for today, because this is confessions. I suppose I've been there myself, and maybe you've been there too. We've got a little comment there. Hang on a second. Richard says, I think it comes down to communication. Let's put this on the thing. Often comes down to communication. Someone will delegate a job without explaining it to the delegate exactly what outcome they're looking for, and then feels it doesn't get done properly. So true, Richard. Yeah. And so what I was talking about was, have we even looked at their experience and their understanding of it, and do they agree? But you're right. Well, if they don't understand that, have I communicated it? Is this me? The whole thing. Is it me? Have I set them up to fail by not communicating with them, by expecting that they understand it, by not asking the right questions, and not taking the time to check whether or not they really do understand it and believe in it? Yeah. So there's a want to as well, Richard, and I think that's really important. And funnily enough, on September the 2nd, we are doing a free masterclass on communication skills for leaders. So if you want to join us, I will put the link in the comments in a minute, because I've got to find it because I completely forgot to. And that's at 2:00 on September the 2nd. So Richard, yes, you're absolutely right. We've got to communicate all of this to people so that they believe in us, we believe in them, they know what to do, they know how to do it, and they have the confidence and belief in themselves, and we have the confidence and belief in them. Okay. Richard, Katie, thank you for your comments. Anyone else who's watching this, feel free to make a comment, or if you're watching it on replay, then again, remember, if you have any questions about this, or you want to understand this in your context, and you want to implement better delegation for yourself as a leader or your team, then give me a shout, message me, or put something in the comments if you want to. I'm very happy to have that conversation. And if you, like Richard, think that communication is really important in this, which he's right, then do come along to our session at 2:00 on September the 2nd. Thank you very, very much. So remember, we have to change people from can't do, won't do, and don't do, to can do, will do, and wants to. And that is where that communication and that understanding of what's really going on in each individual situation is really, really important, because otherwise they won't do what you want them to do. You will prove yourself right. You will fulfill that prophecy of, I can't delegate, people can't do it, and you'll be very disappointed, like Katie's boss. So don't do that. Remember, how can I set them up to succeed? Can do, want to, will do. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday afternoon, and I'll see you on September the 2nd for the Communication Masterclass. You take care, everyone. Bye-bye.